For generations, this has been the way of life for many communities living in the arid and semi-arid areas across the Eastern Africa region. Through the years, they have religiously embraced varied and less sophisticated lifestyles and transformed them into traditions that have been passed down from generation to generation and safely ensured their survival. But today, the world has changed. The weather patterns are no longer the same. The rains have become irregular and unpredictable, and rivers that have flowed unhindered for decades have dried up. The environment has not been spared either. And today, severe droughts, famine and diseases have become a regular occurrence and a major threat to the mere survival of these communities. These are the conditions in many areas of Eastern African region. Over the last few years, the adverse effects of climate change have resulted in alarming levels of poverty, and prolonged droughts have become even more intense, resulting in lack of sustainable and safe drinking water and great losses in terms of crops and livestock. For these communities, their only hope is relief food. But this need not be the case, and building resilience of these communities to the impacts of these risks in order to reduce their vulnerabilities is urgent and a major priority. For many years, Mwingi, a dry and dusty semi-arid region situated in the eastern part of Kenya, has become a perfect example of this and the home to severe and prolonged droughts, devastating famines and alarming poverty levels, which are characterized by lack of access to basic needs such as food, education and healthcare. Although this was attributed to poor rains, poor farming methods also played a role in all this. With urgent action needed to build this community's resilience to recurrent droughts, Church World Service, through its strong partnerships with local non-governmental organizations and faith-based organizations, initiated a number of projects that have enhanced resilience and reduced the vulnerability of the community to disaster risks and climate change. These include training the community in appropriate farming methods, providing them with certified seeds, and encouraging them to plant early maturing and drought-resistant crops such as sorghum, green grams, and cassava. Today, the dry and dusty region of Mwingi has been transformed into this.
I have benefited greatly. I now grow fruits and can sell them and buy food and also pay school fees for my children. Since I started keeping chicken, I no longer buy eggs because the eggs are now available at home. I am happy that since I embraced this conservation agriculture, there is no time we have gone without food in my house.
And Grace is not alone. Across this vast semi-arid region, communities have warmly embraced conservation agriculture, and this new approach is truly transforming their lives in ways they never imagined before.
Our work became very easy when we got water because we now spend most of our time in our farms. These days, my family has enough food, and even if I don't go to work, they just go to the farm and get whatever they want. These days, we do not have a lot of problems.
tatizo mingi.
Church World Service realized that providing relief food to this community was not sustainable, and it was at that particular point that we started training community members and especially people who are doing agriculture to focus more on conservation agriculture, whereby they are able to do agricultural activities that are away from rain-fed activities. And on that note, we also encouraged farmers to do more of intercropping, plant crops that are drought resistant, and from that harvest they are able to have food that can sustain a household for the whole year.
With prolonged droughts over the years worsening already severe water shortages in the region, Church World Service and its implementing partners also initiated an ambitious rock water catchment project that's enabling communities in Mwingi harvest surface water runoff. Construction of communal water tanks at strategic locations has ensured a steady source of clean and safe water for the community throughout the year.
Tulikuwa na shida sana.
Our biggest problem was lack of water. We literally used to spend our nights searching for water. But today, we just come to the water point, fetch clean water and go back to our homes to carry out other duties. We no longer spend nights in the river looking for water. The water is near and we also use it to do some drip irrigation for our vegetables.
Mboga zetu maji. This
has helped us improve our diet and improve our health. We sell the surplus food and get some money to pay school fees for our children.
But it's not only in Mwingi that Church World Service is building the resilience of vulnerable communities to the shocks of climate change. Together with its partners, they're implementing strategic and integrated multiple interventions across Eastern Africa that are aimed at building and rebuilding new community assets that will protect these communities against the dangers of climate change. The Pokot community living in Kadokoi in the larger Rift Valley region is one of these communities. A proud pastoralist community for generations, severe water shortages, insecurity, reduced pasture for their livestock, and increased livestock deaths and disease outbreaks just a few years ago forced the community to rethink their traditional way of life and urgently seek help from Church World Service and its partners to help them in their transformation into an agro-pastoralist community. Today, this is the new and barely recognizable face of the Kadokoi community.
When the water project was started in 2009, it came at a point when we were going through a very hard time. But all this changed when the water started flowing. The pastoralist community that had been moving from place to place in search of water settled around Kadokoi. Since then, our people's lives have been transformed. Kadokoi Primary School today has teachers who only a few years ago refused to take up their posting here because of lack of water. We have also started a farming project whose aim is to improve our nutritional needs as a community.
But Church World Service is not only about building these communities' resilience to the effects of climate change, it's also about enhancing their nutritional needs for protection against environmental and health risks, especially for children under 5 years.
The most prevalent diseases here are mainly brought about by lack of proper nutrition. Firstly, the children do not gain enough weight as they grow up, and the other problem is that most of them get marasmus, a disease that is caused by lack of proper balanced diet. The other disease that is prevalent in this region is kwashiorkor, which is also caused by lack of a proper balanced diet.
By providing these children with the supplements, mineral supplements, what we are doing is we are enhancing their resilience to any opportunistic diseases that if we are not preventing, we are mitigating. Mitigating that if they get the attack, they will not be as much affected as they would have been affected if they did not have this protection or did not have this particular support. So we are basically looking at the children between 0 and 5 years old. This is an opportunity that can build people's future, build the community's future, because those children we are seeing today, these are the future leaders of this community. And if we don't invest at this time when the children are young, we definitely don't expect these communities to develop in the future.
With the region's continued overdependence on the unsustainable wood fuel as a primary source of energy for household energy needs, leading to massive deforestation and threatening to completely destroy their environment, Church World Service pioneered solar and biogas renewable energy projects in Kakamega and Kajiado communities. The results from these projects have simply been amazing, and we are happy that they are supporting the economic development of these regions, promoting income-generating activities beyond daylight, and giving the youth an opportunity to engage in economic activities.
One of the ongoing projects is the Youth Solar Enterprise Project, where youth are engaged in selling lighting kits to communities and to households. And this solar project is actually helping families save money that they would have spent on other sources of fuel such as paraffin. It is also a healthy alternative to using paraffin lamps, and at the same time it is a means of promoting green energy.
As part of Church World Services' climate adaptation strategy for improved livelihoods that respond to climate change with effective technologies that put less stress on the environment, provided sustainable sources of fuel for communities, and made significant contribution to the region's fuel supply.